Congressman Greg Stanton representing Arizona's District 4, and this is Take 5 with T and I. I'm the ranking member on one of the key subcommittees here on T&I, the one that oversees FEMA and emergency management. And that's what our discussion is about today. It's about wildfires in Los Angeles and around the country and the importance of having a strong FEMA and supporting our communities that are under emergency circumstances. The guest today, Laura Friedman, a brand new member of Congress representing the Los Angeles area. Unfortunately, her district was hard hit by the recent wildfires, so she's come in and done a great job already in Congress and had to lead on a very important and tough issue like wildfire. So it's great to see you, and I just want to say welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, this should not be a partisan issue, but sadly it has become a partisan issue at a time of great need in your district and throughout the country, including South Carolina as we speak. South Carolina is dealing with horrific wildfires. Instead of this being a bipartisan issue, saying how can we help communities in need, and unfortunately from the administration we see arguments that we should get rid of FEMA or we should condition aid to communities that have been hit by wildfire or other emergencies. And obviously you and I and others have come out so strongly against that, saying it's just wrong to condition aid to communities in need. But I first want to ask you the question, how have the wildfires impacted the people you represent?
Thank you. My district, which is the 30th district in California, was spared the type of destruction that we saw just blocks out of the district. So I feel very lucky that we had the Sunset Fire, but no structure damage because the winds had died down and our incredible brave firefighters and the air support was able to get that fire under control because it was right in the middle of Hollywood. But we saw the Eaton Fire in Altadena was just 4 blocks out of our district, and there were thousands and thousands of homes. An entire neighborhood just burned to the ground pretty much. So it's devastating because we all know people, everyone in LA and in my district knows someone who lost their home. I know multiple people who lost their home. We know people whose businesses were impacted. My child goes to elementary school. Some of her classmates lost their homes.
Wow.
So it affects the fabric of the whole community. But I will say something.
Please, of course.
The people of Los Angeles have been unbelievable in terms of their support of their neighbors. We saw people donating goods. We saw people donating money. We still see people going on the internet and offering rooms in their house, ADUs, to anybody who needs a place to stay who is impacted by the fires. So I just want to send a personal thank you to the people of Los Angeles. They are inspirational right now in this time, and I believe that the majority of Americans all around this country feel the same way about their neighbors, even their neighbors in California, their neighbors in North Carolina, and we are thinking of all those people, their neighbors in Florida, their neighbors in Louisiana. Every time disaster strikes, there's the word united in the name of our country, the United States. And I think that the vast majority of Americans want to see aid come to disaster victims regardless of their political party, regardless of who they voted for.
And we really have no choice but to do that. And the president suggested that FEMA should go away and that somehow this responsibility should be handed off to the states and communities. And obviously the people are going to help their neighbors, but often a community is overwhelmed with the amount of damage. And so the tragic irony of what Trump was saying was that the reason why we can't just hand this off to the states is because we need FEMA, we need the emergency management system for situations when it's beyond the ability of the state to properly respond to the needs of the community. We need FEMA. How was FEMA done for your community?
Yeah, so it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any fiscal sense to stand up an emergency preparation task force and just pay them to sit there between emergencies. Do you really want New Jersey to have their own FEMA and pay for that year round? It makes a lot more sense to have this be a strike force that goes around the country when we have a major natural disaster like we've seen. FEMA's been amazing. If you ask anyone in Altadena who is impacted, the fact that FEMA within hours had set up shop and people could go and sit down and get money immediately to pay for a hotel, who could find out how to get money for any kind of damage for their home, that had someone to navigate them through all of the different departments that they had to deal with. They've been wonderful. And I'll tell you, I am so alarmed right now that Elon Musk eliminated at least 1,000 FEMA positions without talking to anybody who's dealing with emergencies right now, without seeing whether those employees were in the field and necessary. I had FEMA employees follow me out of a meeting that we had at a FEMA location saying that they were afraid for their jobs because they all got letters asking them to retire. Every single one of them got a letter basically saying, you could be fired immediately, but we want you basically to quit. And they said to me, we're here serving these people who just lost everything. People in their darkest hour of their lives. And they're telling us to walk off the job. That's what Elon Musk wants us to do. And they are firing people. And so I'm really worried about FEMA's ability to service these tens of thousands of people from our fire. And hopefully we don't see that kind of destruction in North Carolina or elsewhere. But if they do, who's going to help them?
Yeah, and whenever these tragedies occur, so much disinformation, and sadly some of the disinformation is coming from the White House. And that's a real tragedy, a disservice to our FEMA employees who risk their own safety to serve the community, and of course the residents that you serve. All right, one more final question. I guess we won't do take 5. I guess we take 3 or 4. I lost track of the number of questions, but what do you hope to get out of today's roundtable?
Well, I hope that our colleagues on the other side of the aisle understand how wrong it is to make people who are already victims be further victimized by denying them a FEMA response. And we know that if we were a red state, this wouldn't be happening. Everyone in Los Angeles is under we understand that. We see that. The first condition that the Trump administration rolled out has to do with the Coastal Commission, a group that was created by the voters of California by proposition to basically get a handle on development along the coastline. It has nothing to do with fire. No one ever said, well, we would have not lost that building if it wasn't for the Coastal Commission. The reason that this is happening is because the Coastal Commission's been arguing with Elon Musk about rocket launches off the coast of California. There's no nexus at all between the first condition that they put down and wildfire. So we know that that's a complete lie, that this is about being vindictive. So I hope that our Republican colleagues understand that and see how dangerous this is. Do they really want, if the Democrats are in power in a few years, for us to start conditioning aid for red states? I wouldn't want to do that. I could not do that in all good conscience. And I would expect them to stand by us right now.
We can't do that. Yeah,
and by the way, can I just say one other thing? My guest for the State of the Union tonight is a firefighter who is risking his own life, along with his colleagues, fighting the Eaton fire. There are firefighters in my community who went and fought that fire while their own houses were burning down.
Incredible.
They are here to say, stop playing games with fire victims, stop playing games with fire resources, and do the right thing for the American people.
All right. Your constituents are very lucky to have you, a great fighter, here in Congress. And that last point you made is the right one. Whether you're a red state like South Carolina or a blue state like California, we are all human beings. We're all fellow Americans. And when one of our fellow Americans is in need, we need to step up and support them. And that's what supporting FEMA is all about. So thanks for participating in today's roundtable. And I guess that was my tryout for Take 5 with T&I. Rick Larson, it's back to you next time.